Hello everybody, welcome to the Nakagin Capsule Tower Building. That's being demolished this week. Currently it's not actually being demolished right now, and I don't even know what the word being demolished means when it comes to the capsule building, but you can see right there they tried really hard to save the Nakagin Capsule Tower, and it just wasn't to be. How you doing, Keith? Welcome. A lot of people have been walking past the building, taking pictures, paying homage to a building that's been here since 1972. This is actually the 50th anniversary of the Nakagin Capsule Tower, and it's the end. And I'm going to talk a little bit about why they couldn't save it, some of the challenges that they had. How you doing, everybody? Some of the challenges that they had, why they couldn't save this, and what's going to happen next with some of these capsules. We don't quite know for sure. I just know there's about 140 of them, and some of them are going to be saved and some of them are not. But in this episode, I'm going to be walking around the Nakagin Capsule Tower Building, showing you what stands here today, April 5th, isn't it? April 6th, 2022. And maybe when you come to Japan, you're going to see something completely different. It does look like Lego blocks, Jody. It really does. It's interesting to see. I've been here hundreds of times, and I never saw people standing in front of it texting and taking pictures like they are today. Hopefully the signal stays okay. I know that some people that were residing in there moved to this building here. There's a couple of new apartment buildings. You should be able to hear me just fine. Here's the back alley. Oh wow, it's in the sun here. You can see from the back side, it's really not too thick of a building. When you look at it from the typical angle from the front, it does look like it could be a much larger building, but really from behind it, it's not as big as what you would think it is. There's only 140 capsules. You can see they're demolishing a lot of the buildings in the area. It's just because they are completely redoing this entire area, and a lot of it has to do with earthquake proofing. In fact, I guess this was the back part of it. You can see they have ripped it down. Interesting. I know that when Kisho Kurokawa designed this building, he designed it so it could be added to, meaning you could get more people, more capsules in here, make it even taller, make it bigger. And I guess the backside of it, they couldn't hold on to it. There's somebody welding back there. Yeah, so the demolition really has started in the back here. That's so sad. I mean, it's for real now. When I see this, the bulldozer, so I can get out of the sun a little bit. When I see the bulldozer actually right there pulling down part of the building, that's pretty sad stuff. Thermal cutter, taking out the main rebar. Thanks, John, for the explanation. Let me walk to the front door and show you what the sign says, because I know that they did put signs out there telling you that you couldn't bring cameras inside. They wanted to discourage people from taking pictures in there. Now there's nobody there to stop you. There was a doorman there for a long time, and I know that people had bought it. I was gonna, before the pandemic started, I actually had access to film, but I was going through a really bad change with the old channel management people, and it was a very bad situation, so it never came to fruition. But one of the TV producers that I work with, he was a friend of a friend and had a capsule here, and he gave me permission to film, but I just never could. I never could do it. Chris Broad has a very good video on his channel that you might want to check out if you want to see the inside of it. But it looks like they have cameras here. Nothing in English. They used to have a sign in English telling people no trespassing. Oh, there it is right there. No trespassing. The doors are probably locked. I'm not going to try it because I don't want to get arrested. Why am I laughing? That's not a funny matter. There's the front sign to the Nakagin Capsule Tower Building is what it's called. It is end of an era. Let's go on the other side before I pull away and give you a distant look at the tower. This wasn't all fenced in either. You used to be able to walk underneath the tower here. You can't do that anymore. A lot of the reason that they're pulling on the tower, let me give you an explanation. Hey, Image Ali, how you doing? I can't believe it. Regret not going when I had the chance. They had Airbnb here for a very long time and they had to stop doing it. I guess it was about a year ago they stopped doing Airbnb here. Right before I was going to film, they just started the Airbnb and the prices were like $30, $40 a night, and they skyrocketed to about $300 to $400 a night on Airbnb just because the demand was so high. But now it's gone. Now there are 140 capsules here. Each one has its own owner. And that's what made this building pretty unique, because the owner theoretically was able to take their capsule out and do whatever they wanted to do, to recondition the capsule, to put it somewhere else, to use it for different purposes, or move it back in. If you wanted to move floors, you were supposed to be able to do it like Jenga. But like with all of these dream projects, it's just impressive that it was ever built, right? Would they ever do a replacement? Maybe. But the biggest problem for this was the cost to recondition this for earthquake proofing. Now, they had actually raised about what, like 9 million yen or something? They raised it, that was almost $100,000 they raised, I believe, to try to keep the building, to pay for the renovations, to keep the building here. The problem was that when they looked at it realistically, it was going to cost 2 to 3 billion yen, which is like 20 or 30 million dollars, I believe. That is an outrageous amount of money for a building when you could build an entirely new building. More than that, it would cost more to build it would cost more to recondition this for earthquake proofing than it would for building a new building. So I think they came down to it and said, you know what? Yeah, no, I can see why probably it doesn't make a lot of sense to keep this around. Here's underneath the capsule. You can see it's just like basically sitting on what looks like a metal grid there. And that doesn't look like it's going to last. That's 50-year-old metal work. So, I mean, depending on how well they did, I don't know how well conditioned it is for a Shindo 7 earthquake if we were to get a really big one. And I believe that they might have had some structural problems with a 2011 earthquake. The concrete, I know a lot of buildings in Japan are made by concrete, a lot of cracks. Cracks come about. I learned that by going into the Skytree and looking at the kind of concrete that they used for it. You really have to be careful with that here in Japan. I'm just gonna pan up. It does look like Jenga, doesn't it? Like you could just pull one out. That was the intention. 1970, they started construction. They completed it in 1972. It's been here ever since. A lot of these buildings in the area were not nearly as tall, so this was a much more impressive building back in the 1970s and 80s. Then when the bubble era came, you can see from the backside here, some of these capsules, they have, what is that, like, they have like these lids to keep privacy so that the other capsule can't look into your capsule. That's so cool. So if you had a back capsule, there was a little privacy lid there so you couldn't look in there. How cool is that? You don't know if you're just looking at it from the front, but the backside's pretty unique. I do hope the signal's staying strong. Do let me know if you have any trouble with it. You can see some of the capsules just have trash in there. They became storage units for other people. They didn't want to sell it, but they couldn't afford to keep it. Right? And you can see the rusty Nakagin Capsule Tower sign on the top there, not having changed. And they put the nets here because, again, if there's an earthquake, they want to make sure that that capsule doesn't kill somebody, fall onto the road right there, which it very well could do. So because they just can't afford to, I'm gonna go touch the building for you. This is cheesy. I know how cheesy it is, but I'm a sentimental person. For Tokyo Paul Live, I'm touching this for you and getting what could be toxic stuff in my skin. Actually, look at, it's starting to, you can see it. The paint is starting to come off the building here. So it's not really the best maintained. And you can see inside of the maintenance shed here. They're no longer doing much maintenance for this building, right? They don't need to do any maintenance anymore. It's coming down. Guess this is the work order here. Saying, yeah, just talking a little bit about who's going to be doing the demolition. I know, Nano, I have to go wash my hands. 21st century, Anjin-san, hey, thanks for showing us this unique building. It was a good example of Japanese metabolism. Metabolism. That's the type of architecture. All right, let's go across the street now. I want to show you what it looks like from above here. This is maybe the best spot across the highway to see the entire building. So let's go walk over in that direction as we're standing directly underneath it now. The demolition date can happen anytime. I'll be making trips back here every now and then to see if I can get them video of them pulling it down. So that's a shot from directly underneath there. Yeah, it was popular, thank you, popular from the 1960s to the 1970s. Before that, there was like this like brutalistic style that was very popular in the 1950s and 60s and 70s as well. And you see a lot of buildings, they thought that that was what the future was. And what I really love about Japanese architecture, Japanese style, is that from the post-World War II time, they weren't about trying to be traditional. Like, they didn't try to use wood and everything the way that they'd been doing for centuries. They thought outside the box and tried to find a new way to redefine what Japanese was. And that's what I think is so unique about architecture after World War II. And during the Meiji era, you started to see more Western buildings coming about. You see it in using different types of materials. But it wasn't until after World War II when new buildings had to be slapped up pretty quickly, and then they started to get pretty creative. A lot of really big architectures like Kisho Kurokawa had unique designs. And if you take a look for the 1964 Olympics, if you look back in history, you're going to see some amazing architectural designs for the future of Tokyo, including like this really amazing grid pattern. They just envisioned a different kind of Tokyo that we have today, but what our image of the future is right now is going to be different in 10 years. It's just really unique to see that vision in the old architecture, the ones that are actually actually realized, because not all architecture, you have a really unique plan and it just never comes to fruition because it's either not possible, because the materials are not there yet for the design. There's lots of reasons why. The Tokyo Skytree is a really great image of what we think of the future here in Japan. It has a very Japanese kind of sleek style to it, but it also looks like it It's very global looking too. I don't know. We saw that yesterday in the live stream. You can see its profile here with the other buildings that came about after this one was built. These look like some of them from the 1980s and 90s. And then there's one from 1972. All right, I don't know how the signal's gonna be underneath here. That's a Don Quixote in Ginza, right there. Shimbashi Don Quixote. This is Shiodome, which is a new site that was built in the year 2000, 2001. All these buildings were started popping up at the start of the new millennium. And that building just over there where the dome is, just before it, is the first, Tokyo's main train station, which was Shimbashi. And that building still stands as a museum, and it's just a shame that they couldn't find a way to preserve this one. But you can kind of understand it. Look at they're doing such a great job of keeping Tokyo really new. There's the Shinkansen going by, so you get Bullet Train, AKA Brad Pitt. Brad Pitt's new movie. So you have a really futuristic, clean, interesting city, and when you look at the building here on this side, the Nakagin Capsule Tower, it just doesn't, it's totally fits and it doesn't fit. I said Shinkansen, which is bullet train. How bad is this microphone? Jeez. All right, let's move on over to the stairway here. You get a more unobstructed video shot of it. There was a live streamer inside of one of the capsules who was living there, renting, and had a, what was her name? Kawaii Koe-chan, I think. And she was doing music and had a little club inside of her capsule. And of course she had to move out, and she's in I believe a building nearby. Wow. This is where you get the best, actually the best shot would be from a car driving past it. And Peter told me he used to, I did call Peter for comment, and he told me that he used to ride his motorcycle down this highway, and he really liked it because there's not a lot of traffic on it. And he always got a nice view of the Nakagin Capsule Tower. This was, I believe, in a couple of Hollywood movies. I think it was in a scene in The Wolverine. And it's been in a lot of TV dramas here in Japan. On the top says Nakagin, which means like center silver, right? Gin is silver. On the left side you have Nakagin in Roman letters. Falling apart there. I did bring my 8K Sony A1 camera, and we'll get some background shots of it as well today because it's a nice blue sky. The lighting's pretty good. They do look like washing machines in there, and you can see residents that live there would write signs and leave dolls. You would see figures and really neat things from the window with the zoom lens. Now, almost everybody's moved out, and the ones where you can see stuff in there, it's just abandoned. They kind of just left it in there, and I don't know what's going to happen with a lot of these capsules, but some of them are going to museums to preserve the Metabolism architectural movement. As an example, you can see on the top there, that one right in the center of your screen, that's how big each capsule was. And there's a core in the middle of it, and that would be the stairway to get up. I don't know if they had escalators. That one capsule, check it out. That seems to have a lot of new do-it-yourself windows there. I guess they figured they're not going to be expanding, and the owner of that cut some holes and made his own windows. That's pretty cool. I wish I could have gotten in there. But each one has its own owners, 140 of them. The problem was threefold. Let me see. I hate having that mask on. Let me see if I can think of all the problems. One of them was that they couldn't get all 140 owners to agree on a route to go to preserve this. Each one of the owners, some of the owners had their own groups. Each owner had their own opinion. The majority of them seemed like they were in the right direction, but there were just enough dissenting people that maybe they wanted it to be demolished because they get money for that or something as owners of the land. I'm not sure how the system worked, but in the end, they just couldn't get people to agree. The second one was that the earthquake proofing would have cost 20 to 30 billion yen, and they only raised like 9 million yen, which is well short of the entire cost to preserve it for what and how long it would take, we don't even know. The Imperial Hotel, which is one of the most world famous hotels in the world, where the Queen of England stays when she comes here, as well as Joe DiMaggio and Marilyn Monroe were there on their honeymoon. It's a beautiful hotel. That's going to be renovated for the next 8 years. It's not going to reopen until 2030. And that's being renovated because partially they want to make sure that it's okay for really strong earthquakes and be up to standard for the future. That hotel is well over 100 years old now, and a lot of these older buildings are getting knocked down because Japan is an earthquake-prone country, so you have to have always increasing standards of building. So that's why when a strong earthquake does hit, you don't see a lot of buildings that have collapsed, and the ones that have are really old ones. That's that kind of thinking that we need to stay safe in a country like this. Because if the buildings will topple, then you have fires, you have gas explosions, you have all these other problems. Most people in earthquakes, they don't die from the actual earthquake, they die from fires that are related to the earthquake. That's what I was told anyways. I wasn't in the one in Kobe, but apparently the gas explosions and fires were the things that killed the most people. Yeah, and the other reason was that it was just, people just didn't want to live in the apartments. They weren't renovated. What made these really unique when it opened in 1972 was that it had almost everything that you needed inside of there. Now, I believe the stoves didn't work in there. There was no kitchen, but the TV was a TV that was encased in the capsule, which is a futuristic thing, right? It was like the room had a TV inside the room, like inside the wall. And that was kind of a futuristic thing for the 1970s. The bathroom was really small and compact, which was kind of cool, but it's not very comfortable. So a lot of the residents, they did live there for a while, and then eventually, as they made more money, they didn't want to sell it because it was such a unique building, but they also didn't want to live there, so they ended up keeping it. And like most abandoned houses called Akiya, you can see some artists also drawing it because they know it's not going to be here much longer. There's an Akiya problem, and one of the reasons is people don't want to sell or get rid of their possessions that they have in value. Japanese sometimes are like pack rats, and they love to keep stuff. I think it was another YouTuber made a video about how there's this, Japan is known for being really clean, but there's also some really, really dirty people that just collect everything and never throw it away. I've seen some pretty nasty or weird houses in my life here in Japan. I mean, that's everywhere though, people collecting stuff and not throwing it away. But when they do it in Japan, they do it and it's almost like a religion, like a cult. But with possessions, there are some owners that just never wanted to do anything with it. So they didn't do it make money off of it with Airbnb. They just left it as storage. They came in there and wanted to live their memories from when they were started working and used this as their first apartment maybe. or that maybe they did have plans and wanna move this to another location one day. But I don't know or have heard of any stories of anybody successfully. That's actually not a police officer, that was a police car, it's an ambulance going by. I haven't heard of any success stories of somebody on the 10th floor, for example, moving their capsule to another location. I have never seen that. I haven't seen a video of it. So I'm not sure if Kisho Kurokawa's dream actually 100% came true, but getting this made, I think, is in itself an amazing feat. And to lose it, which is a real part of Japan's DNA, Tokyo's DNA, I think this building, its loss is a loss to the city and to architecture. Because you can have a plan, but doesn't mean it's always going to get built. The fact this was built like the plan, and the fact it was built almost like according to the plan, is just an amazing thing. This highway was here, I believe, for the 1964 Olympics. Was built, I believe it was. The above ground highway system, most of it, but it could have been added in the year 2000. So I'm not sure what the roads look like in the 1970s in this section of the city, but I know that the Shiodomi behind me was completely, there was almost nothing here, and it was built completed in 2000, 2001, about 21 years ago. Yeah, you could prefabricate this and then stack it on, but isn't the concept pretty cool though? And I think it's starting to come back, because I'm seeing on YouTube a lot of people with cargo trailers, right? Cargo containers that are making homes out of that. So I can see this just be just a little bit too small. And maybe if it was larger and it was more cargo containers and they had bigger windows on it instead of round windows, because I do like the round windows, it does look quite futuristic. Maybe it would be more in demand here. Because cargo containers, I don't know how much more you could do to earthquake-proof it. But it's pretty easy to social distance in this area of the city too. A lot of people made some changes to it. I know you can't open the windows, but in the back there, they seem to have some unique, I don't know, they sort of took the liberty to do some work on it. I don't remember that window being like that though. Maybe it's something that was new. I'm afraid to ask them for a look. All right, I'm now looking at the chat, so if you have any questions, please ask away. What do you guys think? Are you sad that you're gonna miss it? Were you hoping to stay there? Let me know in the chat right now if you have any questions. I'll be here for the next couple of minutes, just kind of bringing you different points, different views, letting you absorb the sounds naturally now. Yeah, they couldn't turn it into a love hotel. They couldn't turn it into anything. You can't get like $30 million or more to preserve this. It's just too much money for what it is. So like Harajuku Station, it's gonna be torn down, and then maybe they should rebuild it in a different area of Tokyo maybe. But it just can't be here in the center of the city. The property is just too valuable. It is sad to lose it, isn't it? Imagery, I don't think I'm going to jump in front of a bulldozer. Next week I'm going to Hokkaido, so I'm not going to be here, I think, when they start ripping it down. But I want to be here and see some of that, so I will keep an eye on this. And if they do have the bulldozers and they do have cranes coming in here and it becomes a big deal, I will come here and live stream that too. But I thought just one last time, as it lies right before it gets torn apart. For those joining us in the back of the Nakagin Capsule Tower Building, they've already started to tear it down. So they have bulldozers. They're starting in the back and moving out to the front. Yeah, a couple of scratchy panda rights in here. A couple of the museums are getting the capsules. A lot of them are architectural museums. A lot of the owners are selling them or getting money for them. So if you're not sure what to do with it, you know, I think that's one thing you could do. I don't think that has a lot of value to put it in your backyard. Or I'd like to buy one and have Leo, make it like Leo's room or something. But I like to put it in a tree somewhere in Nagano or something. Maybe that'll turn it into a tree house, or I don't know. There's a lot of things you could do with it. But that was the purpose. These are supposed to be containers that you buy. You can have them in the city, and then you'd put them on the back of a truck, and you'd be able to take it out in the country, and then you could bring your capsule back, and you know, that's sort of the idea. And if you've ever seen a Japanese parking garage, it maybe works. Maybe they should have done it that works in the same way, where you could push a button and the capsules all kind of move around. But I don't think the people who lived in the capsules wanted that kind of a system to always be moving, like that movie The Cube. Have you ever seen that movie called The Cube? I think it's 1997 or something, where they're trapped in these cubes of death, and they have to. The cubes are constantly moving. Maybe that idea came from this. I don't know. Barry Barton remembers. That was a freaky movie. I remember renting it on VHS when I first moved to Japan. Freaked me out. I think it's on Netflix. They made like Cube 2, 3, 4 as well. All right, I'll come down here one last time, and then we're going to return to the door. It is quite a windy day. I started the stream a little late because I had to set up the microphone for wind. A lot of this could have to do because there is no tourism. Maybe if some of the owners were making more money from the Airbnb, they'd have a chance, but that stopped again with, it is really windy too. I hope the mic is doing a good job. All right, we'll be back here again another time to see when they decide to move the capsules. Let's go back over towards the bridge here. I gotta come back to film some background video for a future episode on Japanese architecture. You want to kind of get video of this as much as you can. I wish I could fly a drone in central Tokyo, but I know another YouTuber who tried to fly a drone in Roppongi. I told him not to. He did it anyways. Within a minute, he had police swarm the park. He ran and hid in a Starbucks, and they caught him. I don't know how they found him, but they found him and they confiscated his drone, and he was so apologetic. He just got scared, and he never got his drone back. They said he could have it in 3 months, and then when he came to pick it up, they said you can come back in 6 months. I guess they never wanted to give him back his drone. Mavic 2 as well. It was pretty expensive back in the day. He got off lucky though. He was in the police station for over 12 or 13 hours. trying to deal with it. And the loss of time was probably worse than the money for him because he's got a really big channel. Do not fly a drone in Tokyo, not anymore. You will get fined or prison time or worse. They can hold you up. They can hold you for no reason for, I think, up to 2 weeks. And you don't want that. Not in a foreign country. You can see the capsules through. There's a good view of the English writing, and you can see the I in the Nakagin. Looks pretty neat. It's an arrow. Hey, Nicholas. Have you been to the 3rd and 4th floor of Tokyo Station yet as such a snazzy hotel? The Tokyo Station Hotel is a really snazzy place. I remember I was doing an interview for Yokohama Radio, and the producers came to meet me for a pre-interview meeting, and they bought me a pot of tea. I think it was $30. I was like, what? I remember the check came, and it was like $30 for a pot of tea, and it wasn't very big, you know. I guess it cost, what is it, hot water and some tea bags. But I did meet, I gave a speech to the Concierge Association of Japan. About 90 concierges were there listening to what my feelings were on inbound tourism. And I got to meet the concierge and manager of that hotel. So maybe if there's some history there, I can go in and cover it. I think I might not be in time to cover the Imperial Hotel because the history of that place is extraordinary. Hey Aisha! Great to catch you live. Can't wait to be back in Japan. Nice to see you. Nice to hear from you. And Bob, Joe, good to hear that some of the capsules are being sent to museum. I know, we really do have to preserve some of this history. We really do. This way it takes you towards Higashi Ginza. There's some new buildings, and back behind these buildings is Tsukiji, where the old Tsukiji fish market was. This neighborhood is my backyard. I don't live too far away. So Ginza Avenue would be in this direction here. And there's the Don Quixote, if you've ever been in this one. 24 hours a day it's open. You can get a lot of junk food in there. I bought a bicycle there once and rode it to Kyoto. I bought a bicycle from here, and then I just took off and I rode to Kyoto. I'm dead serious. It's a true story. I'm not kidding. That was pretty crazy. I got video of it, so one day I'll show it to you. Actually, when I have the trailer of the new channel that started a couple of years ago, if you look at that, there's a video of me riding my bicycle to Kyoto. I bought that bike right there. It's pretty funny. All right, everybody, I hope that you enjoyed this video. The trip was 5 days, 500 kilometers. I camped at all the different locations, a lot of castle towns on the 52 stops of the Tokaido Highway. It was pretty neat. I rode my bicycle to a marker in Gion that was one of the origins of the Tokaido Highway. That was 2005. It's like 17 years ago, my gosh. All right, everybody, take care. Rest in peace, Nakagin Capsule Tower. We'll be back to see the demolition. If there's more news from here, I will be here to cover it because I hate seeing something that I'm connected with leave, but in Tokyo, it's inevitable, and it's always going to be part of Tokyo's DNA to consistently evolve. Buildings don't stay around forever, including the Harajuku Station, including the old Olympic Stadium. There's a lot of changes have taken place over the years. It's sad, but it's a part of making sure that the city stays safe as well. If you have any questions, you can leave them in the comments of the video if you're watching this in playback, and I hope this video can stay as some sort of historical look back at what was once here, and I'll be back to film some more. Take care, everybody. Planning to see Peter tomorrow, so bookmark this channel for tomorrow. 24 hours later, we'll have something